Hey, audience. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Way of the Warrior. I cannot begin to tell you how excited I am for this episode. As you know, my name is Trevor Martin. I'm the founder of RMF Coaching, and along my journey, I like to touch base with warriors I find on social media, connect with them, and find out their story about how they are promoting goodness back out into this dark world. So today, I've got with me Alyssa Michelle, who is one badass for sure. Alyssa, thank you so much for joining us today. Could you tell us a little bit about how you got started on your journey?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we'll go a little ways back, and first I want to say thank you for having me on. I always love connecting, and I'm very excited to be here.
Hell yeah.
So, for me, I was born in upstate New York, so the countryside of, not the city, and I was the middle-ish child of four girls. So, out of all four of us, like I was never the athlete growing up. Everyone did sports. My dad did sports, and it was not a disappointment, but I was against the grain to begin with without knowing. So I was the black sheep. Fast forward a little bit, like I wasn't the athlete, but then for some reason I wanted to join the military. My dad had enlisted a long time ago, and but I was such a little kid that I didn't know what I wanted to be in first grade. So I don't think I decided this. I didn't decide until the end of high school. I was in 11th grade, and I was like, you know what? Like all these career paths, I'm like, it's not me. I didn't even really like school. So other than the social aspect. So I
Right.
decided to join the military. My dad said the only thing was you are going officer. I don't want you to go enlisted. And I was like, cool, whatever that is. Like, I have no idea. I just wanted to wear the uniform and go do things.
Right.
So I was very patriotic. That was another piece that really drew me to it, whether it was movies, I know it sounds silly, but playing like Medal of Honor on PlayStation 2,
Oh,
like that was
that
my
game.
shit. It is, but I read so many historical fiction books. That was like my thing. I loved it. I loved everything about, the past of our country.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where it all started. And when I got to college, again, still wasn't an athlete. I started doing some running. So I was like, oh, I probably have to like be able to do this, to keep up. Was not the fastest, could barely do 10 push-ups. Until, I met some mentors. My first day of ROTC, literally, I had a female come up to me who was a absolute badass, still is to this day. And she told me, you're going to join the Ranger Challenge team. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And it's basically the sports team for college, but for ROTC cadets. So I was
Okay.
like, so the day that, the next morning at PT, which is where my early morning rising started, because every single morning we did PT. I stepped forward and I was shaking. I was so scared. I'm like, I've been cut from so many sports teams. I'm like, this is going to be horrendous, but I did it because she talked to me one-on-one and was like, we need more females. We need more badass females. And I was like, I'm
Right
not a
on.
fucking badass. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So anyways, that started everything for me. I was pushed past these mental barriers and really
Mm.
truly tasted what it was like to be mentally tough. I thought my potential was here and it would stay there forever. I realized that tasting what it was like to get on just a little level above my potential, I was like, holy crap, like I can do so much more, to the point where fast forward to the end of college, I was the captain of that team the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I was number one, commission number one in my class. I got 300 perfect score PT tests, every single PT test possible, and went to airborne school, went to Spain, jumped out of a plane or out of a helicopter in Spain my second year. I mean, I did something every single summer and absolutely crushed it to the point where I was obsessed. I was like, I am going to love the military. And this is like, the fake army, because you're preparing for the real thing. So
Right.
I talk it up a lot, but that is absolutely what made me who I am.
Mm.
And then obviously I didn't talk about this part yet, but like I was the only one who went military out of my four sisters. So
Okay.
went military, moved away. No one else has moved away. Everyone still lives out there. Only one, I started getting tattoos. I started realizing I'm different. There's a world out there. And then as life has, progressed, I kept meeting people in the military, which I say was that was just the foundation for who I am, because you meet people from different walks of life who
Mm.
show you that there's more to life, that there's more beyond. But when I was in the military, I was like, I'm going to be in this forever. That was my intention. Obviously,
Okay.
I'm not anymore. Life
Right.
happens. So I was an artillery officer, so I was always attached to light infantry. So again, mental toughness was tested on a daily because you had to hang with the
Sure.
boys. I was in the 82nd Airborne. So I was the first female fire support officer that, company and that battalion had ever seen. And this is the 82nd we're talking about. So this was not taken lightly. This was like, well, you better be able to hang. When we go to the field, you have to do as we do, and you got to do this and that. It was the standard was very different, which I can understand, because you don't want, someone coming in and they're absolute shit. I get it. So
that reminds me of some G.I. Jane shit right there. That's
yeah,
awesome.
But so I was able to prove that through a bunch of different training exercises. I was like, I just shut up. And I was always told, just shut up, do your job, ask questions. You don't know everything. And I was like, cool. So don't come in knowing everything. Got it. So I followed what my mentors had told me. I talked to my NCOs. I learned from my soldiers. I mean, and I had a great time. I really did. Fast forward, to when I got married, did the whole, like, I was very young. Had my beautiful son, who is now 6, but I was at that point where I was like, I either pin captain, go to career course, continue this, which again, I didn't have a plan. I thought the military was the plan. That was what I was meant to do forever. So now I'm like, crap, what do I do? Like, I'm barely seeing my son because I'm in the field all the time. I'm like, I'm about to go through, now a divorce, because when my ex now moved away, our relationship was already kind of, on the rocks. And then it just kind of got worse as the distance came.
Okay.
And so
on the rocks, distance.
Yep. So we decided to split. My son was barely 2. So when we split, I was like, I can't go to the career course, because I was what they called a branch detail officer. So I was supposed to go MI. And I was like, I know nothing about that. It's going to be a very difficult school. I have to go all the way to Fort Huachuca with my son, because my ex was still in like Korea. And then when he came back, he was going to Fort Bliss, and he was already kind of like, I just took care of everything with our son and everything else. So I'm like, I'm going to have to make a decision. I think I have to get out. And that was not something I was prepared for. I think, things work in mysterious ways where voice is cracking. But
hey, happens to me too.
I just get a little excited. But if I was in the military nowadays, I think I would have gotten out anyways. Like, I look at it and I'm like, wow, what are we doing? We're not training to fight and win wars. I'm like, what is going on? It's a very political thing. Like, there's so much that I'm like, I'm glad I did, but I wasn't prepared at the time. That's the whole point I like to make.
Okay.
Not that, and I value every member that joins and serves and does it for the right reasons, I'll add.
Amen.
So, that's kind of like the past bringing me up to now. I'm in corporate America. So I got out in 2019, single parent, hitting the road, drove from Georgia, which is my last duty station, at Fort Benning. They're all called different names now because people were offended. And, now we moved to Texas. I drove all the way out here with my son. His dad, a couple of years ago, decided to also leave the military and move off to Florida. So I'm like essentially really alone out here. I don't even have help with my son, except for, 2 to 3 times a year. So gracious of him to give that time. But it's kind of, so where you see me at now, I do host a podcast. I've done 2 bodybuilding competitions. I am huge into fitness, health, wellness, specifically towards women. I just launched my coaching business. So where I'm at now, I absolutely would never have guessed 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Nothing. This is nothing that, like, I mean, even talking to you and having the opportunity to, share a story that I didn't think was a story, it's really transcended, and I've really evolved as a person, because now I'm seeing the impact that I can have on different platforms and the inspiration and breaking through that mental toughness barrier. And that's why I love talking about it so much, is because I think if you have never tasted what it feels like to have to be mentally tough, if you've never had to do something super uncomfortable, you're missing out on life. You really are.
Man, that'll preach right. Like,
yeah,
I 100% agree. So one of the things, I'm all in as I'm listening to what you're saying and what you're talking about. And that's one of the things, when I found you on LinkedIn, or came across you, on LinkedIn, I was like, what? Wait, let me stop scrolling here. Let me go back. What did I just see? And it's that story. It's that story of being the black sheep. It's the story of going through all of those things, not just the physical aspect. So when we think of having to be tough, when we think of the military, when we think of the toll and the ask of our bodies, just the physical aspect, a lot of times we can get lost in that and forget about what it takes up here to hone in to make all of this work together the way
Yeah.
that it should for absolute 100% success. Not only did you see that success, but like you kick success in the teeth. Like you went fully joy, right? Like you, and that is inspiring. That's inspiring to individuals like myself. It's going to be inspiring also to the women that you're leading, that you're coaching, that you're bringing forward and elevating. And I think that is absolutely phenomenal. The other part that speaks to me that we, that sometimes we don't think about or take the time to stop and think about is the real life aspect of it, right?
Yeah.
We get on a podcast, we talk about the journey, we talk about the weights we've racked, we've talked about the things that we've done, the experiences, the medal, da 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 da. And then somewhere along the line, I'm a single mom fades to the back, right? I've got to do these things, fades to the back, right? The real life stuff, the making sure that the children are fed, that the bills are paid, the things like that, on top of what we're trying to launch, what we're trying to do. And you want to talk about, I mean, you want to talk about mental toughness? Now stack on, hey, it's just me here. I don't have a real support group. That takes a lot of moxie. That takes a lot of grit.
Yeah.
That takes, you've got to dig deep. You've got to dig deep. So let me ask this, and this is,
Yeah.
I guess I didn't have this question planned, but when Alyssa, when it gets dark or when you get pushed low, like how do you dig yourself out of that hole? Like how do you come back?
Yeah, and I mean it's we're all human. I would be
Right
lying if
on.
I said I wasn't in one recently. And it's not the rock bottom that I faced in my past before. There's a lot in my past that, puts you in a dark space. But
Oh yeah.
sometimes there's just those moments where you're like, why am I even doing this? Like I
Yeah.
don't get $1 from my podcast, but I enjoy the conversation. I have to rewire my brain. I do. So the gym is number one for me. I think you need to be moving. So number one, you have to involve some kind of movement. If that's running, if that's lifting, if it's CrossFit, if it's freaking,
Oh,
I don't know what it is, throwing a basketball
hold
around,
on.
like whatever that is for you, movement is huge. Spirituality. I grew up in a very religious household and I don't go to church anymore. I'm not going to lie. I'm God fearing. I do also have questions. So I'm like, as I've gotten older again, I question a lot of things as a human. But I think some kind of spiritual aspect, even if it's the universe, like, hey, if I'm putting bad energy out there, I'm only going to attract more bad energy. Just like if I think money is the devil, I'm never going to
Yes.
receive any. So
Preach.
I think, yeah. So I think a very spiritual or universal aspect is important too, because you have to realize because your mentality sits there. So am I keeping active? Am I keeping blood flowing through my brain? Like I wake up early and people think it's crazy. I wake up at 4 a.m. now, which I had to get back into because again, I hit a dark spot where I was just waking up right before work started and just getting my son rushing out of the house. And I'm like, this
Yeah.
is not a way to live. I'm not even living. So I'm like, I have to wake up earlier, get my me time in the morning. I do 30 minutes outside, whatever weather it is, of something. I either box or I'll jump rope, I'll sprint, I'll do some abs, I'll do some headstands. I do whatever I'm feeling like as long as I wake up, I go outside and I move for 30 minutes
Yeah.
minimum. So then I do either self-study or something like that. I think learning a skill is another aspect, or doing something that interests you. If that's painting, if it's singing, I play guitar a little bit. I don't do it as much since my priorities have kind of changed, but sometimes I'll pick it up if I need to, just do something I used to do. Sometimes if you think, what did I used to like doing as a kid? If you do it again, you might still enjoy it. So there's just so much that a lot of it just goes back to your roots, but I do think you have to move. I do think you have to have some kind of mentality growth piece or something that's pushing you, something that's making you think, because as people, we are wired to figure out problems, to solve problems. If you think
Oh,
back
hell
to our
yeah.
primal days, it was like, am I going to get eaten by a fucking bear today? We don't have to worry about that. So we need to not create problems in our life, but solve other ones. Like, why does my
Yeah.
routine suck? Why, am I stuck in this job I hate? Why, whatever, just solve problems or solve someone else's problems. Like with the coaching, like I figured something out where people come to me, I'm like, why don't I monetize? And I know there's a lot of things about fitness coaches out there that, it's not necessary. People just need to know. I'm like, some people need that push and accountability. A good coach, and this might be a little segue, but a good coach will make sure that you never need a coach again. They train you and teach you the things you need to know to carry on without them. That's what a good coach would do.
You're
So
you're
yeah,
100% spot on. I mean, you talk about segue, like you couldn't have said it, you couldn't have done it any better, right? That is exactly when we think about coaching, when we think about just the basics of leadership 101. It's not about, it should never be about self. It's always about elevating and encouraging others and taking them up to the next level, right?
Yep.
And then
Absolutely.
you move on as a leader, as a coach, to find somebody else that is looking for that needs that elevation to the next level, right?
Definitely.
That has that had the maybe even that's struggling with embracing that power within. Because as a coach, you yourself, just looking at you and hearing you, you found that power. You understood early on how to embrace it, how to ignite it. Yes, sometimes it kind of that light can go dim.
Yeah.
We talked about how do we reignite that and get back to fucking work, and taking that energy and being able to help somebody else and spark theirs. Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and sorry, I was going to say something before I forget too, is another thing I talked about recently that I was thinking about is don't hold on to your past achievements forever. Like you can be proud of it,
Yeah.
but like when I talk about like my story and how I commissioned #1, this and that, and I was very proud in those moments. It got me exactly what I wanted. Going, I got active duty, I got the branch I wanted, I got the location I wanted, and that was because of that. However, who am I today? Like, you don't have to say fuck it to the past. Like, that's cool, but what are you doing now? So what, like, I like to talk about that because a lot of people hold on to their past achievements like that's who they are. Don't embody that as who you are. Who are you today? You should be constantly evolving as a human. And so with that, when I am still in the corporate America world, the reason why I was hitting some dark spaces, the reason why I'm doing things like podcasting, going other people's podcasts, talking, social media, coaching, doing all these different things, all while everything else is still running in the background of my life. The reason is because I started realizing I was severely unhappy. I was realizing I wasn't that cadet anymore who was the overachiever, who was hitting everything. Because where are my goals? Hence, I did a bodybuilding competition. Never thought I'd step on a stage and do that. Did another one the next year. I started modeling. I started, doing different things, meeting new people. And now it's evolved past all of that, but having goals. What are your goals? Every week on Sunday, I actually write down my weekly goals because the thing is that unhappiness stems from the fact that I'm not doing anything to solve problems. Number one, my own problems, which can be other people's problems, but I wasn't reaching for anything. I was just existing. I was working. I was falling into the very trap I wanted to avoid that I see my parents going through and so many other people. Everyone is they're going to have jobs till they die because they're committed. Their mentality tells them this is what we do. We work, we retire, then we enjoy life. What if you die before then?
Yeah.
What if you die before then? You never get to live your life. I am determined. My purpose is to build this life and actually live it, which is why I do things like this. I make time for amazing people like you to share stories and just connect. Because to me, this is living. This is living proof that it's possible. That you can do anything. It's so stupid to say, like, you can do anything you want to do. No, you really, really can. And I'm going to prove it to myself. That is my life's work, that I can do anything. So anyways, I had
you've got to be like my black sheep sister. Like, I swear to God, like everything that you're fucking saying, like that is exactly down to the letter what I subscribe to, right?
Yeah.
Understanding that we have the ability, it's just a choice, right? To your point, you were talking about, moments where, you were dark, like, hey, I'm sleeping to where I get up right before I get up to work.
Yeah.
Go to work, right? It's a choice. Do I stay in bed or do I get the fuck up, put boots on the ground, and go do something for 30 minutes? Get my mind right, heart and mind aligned, and let's go. Do I make the active choice to take the chance, because it is a chance, to roll the dice and leave the corporate world and go out and launch a business that I firmly, from the foundation up, believe in?
Yeah.
I mean, same wavelength, and I absolutely love the energy, that's coming out from you as you talk about it, right? There's those people that are like, you know what? Yeah, I'm thinking about doing this, and I did take some steps, and and we'll see how it goes. And then there's others that are like, yo, I fucking punched it in the throat so hard. There's no way that I'm not going to be successful at this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's That's why I do get excited when I talk about it, is because I can see it. And I like the fact too that I'm on the journey of that. I'm not
Oh,
there yet, because it's not inspiring to me to hear all these people who are already on the top of whatever mountain. Although there's always another mountain. It's like, I'm currently on this journey. I haven't got it all figured out, and I'm kind of just
yes.
do it now, learn it later type thing, like just figure it out along the way. But it's, I have great mentors, and, you invest in yourself, whether it's a
Oh,
certification or a mentor or coaching, which I
yeah,
do. So I'm not going to preach to someone to pay me to be their coach. I pay people to be coaches.
right.
So I think that's important, and to get different, people that have already done it. So it's not like I'm paying someone to like maybe know what they're doing, but I want to be better. So I'm going to invest in myself daily. Waking up early is investing in myself. Learning something, getting my certification, even though it's like, yeah, for over a decade, I've been training and I know how to do it, but I just want that added layer for some people who are a little skeptical.
Absolutely.
I like knowledge. I love learning. I never used to like to learn. Now I do. I didn't like athletics. Now I love athletics. I mean, like we can't put ourselves in this tiny little freaking box, because
Mm.
we don't even know if it interests you, if it scares you just a little bit, if you have a little bit of fear, you're probably on the other side of something that you'd really like.
Oh man,
So
absolutely.
yeah,
I always subscribe to the line of thinking, right? In the uncomfortable is where true growth lies.
yeah,
In the uncomfortable, right? In that pushing, screw thinking outside the fucking box. Obliterate the box. There is no box.
yep,
Take your thinking to the most massive level that you can ever imagine. If
mhm,
you want to do it, if it to your point, if it scares you just a little bit, try it. Go do it.
yeah,
Because one day, one day you're gonna look behind you and go, yeah, I fucking did that. That's right. I did do that. Because I did that, watch me do this.
yep,
Like it, and then it snowballs, you just keep going. And that
yeah,
energy, you're talking about energy, you're talking about the universe and your
hmm,
spirituality. I'm like on the exact same. I have questions. Is it the universe? Is it God? What is it? I believe there's something there.
yeah,
I've got those questions, but I do believe, to your point, what I'm putting out matters, right?
yeah,
What I'm putting out matters. So taking all of that moxie, all of that inspiration, and letting that energy flow out to other people. I mean, that's one hell of a mission. That's one hell of a mission statement and a purpose in this life. And the impact is. I mean, clearly, it's already happening.
yeah. And I mean, it's one of those things where a lot of people are just afraid of what others will think, and I've been there. I get
Yeah,
it. But I'm at that point now where, I'm about to start pushing some, not controversial, but some reels and little short. I might even put it on LinkedIn. I sometimes get a little weird because I know people from like my, company, and other people are very professional, and I say a lot of F words because I'm
me
very
too.
passionate about what I do. But I'm about to push out some reels that are going to hurt some people's feelings. And it's just about taking control of your life, and like, are you the person who keeps hitting snooze, like things like that. But I'm very tough love when it comes to
Yeah.
it, because that's how I respond. Not everyone responds that way, which is okay. My thing is, I'm going to put my message out there. I'm going to try, because I don't want to one day regret that I never even attempted to do the things that I want to do. We're living in a beautiful era where we can literally, you and I would never have met, probably ever, had we not had social media, technology, all these things to connect us in
Yeah.
from states away. So I mean, we're take advantage of it. I mean, that's like the Gary V too. Like, these things are always going to evolve. He's like, even if social media all went away and it went to freaking smoke signals on a hill, I'd be the first one up there.
Yeah.
He's like, and I'd be doing it,
Ah,
you know? So it's that mentality, and that just being like, share your truth, share your story. Who cares if no one likes it, or if they judge you, or like, that's so weird. I'm like, the people saying that are just keyboard warriors anyways, and they're not
mm,
doing anything with their lives. So who the
mm,
fuck cares about those guys? Who
right.
cares? Who cares? I don't know.
Absolutely. One of these things. So I want my mentor, the one that actually kind of got me started, is
Yeah.
Erin Whitehead. I don't know if you've connected with her on LinkedIn yet,
I
but
don't
you
think
want
so.
to talk about some tough love. You want to talk about throat
Yeah.
punching messaging, about get off your fucking ass and let's get to work. You
Yeah.
need to connect with her. So I'll drop her link in the DM
Cool.
when we're
Yeah.
all done. But yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
So Alyssa, you're talking about a little bit about dropping some short messaging, things like that. As it relates to the coaching, as it relates to helping other individuals,
Mhm.
and you're growing your business, what's that look like for you in the future? Like what have you got planned?
Yeah. So I'm exclusive to women through social media and everything I've done. It's like, it attracts a lot of men, which is always going to happen. But I'm trying to speak to women
Right on.
specifically. So with coaching, I want to change people's lives. I want them to look good, feel good. So my mission statement's literally, I help boss babes build bulletproof mindset and badass bodies. So because I
Dude,
think mindset has to go hand in hand.
that's sick.
So
Yeah.
that's my little mission statement. And so with that, I mean, I want to be able to speak like this, but in like a public place. I would love to
Mm,
host events. I want to do more with women in their groups, whether it's single parents or not. I think all women have, a very unique thing about us. I know a lot of guys get, all butthurt that they're not included in that, but I can speak to women. I'm not a dude. Sorry. I know there's a lot of people that question those things with themselves, but not me. I will speak to women.
hey,
But yeah,
that's awesome. And that is, I mean, that's needed. It's definitely needed, right?
yeah,
You think about any industry, right? You think about the statement, it's a man's world, right? And that's not true. So looking at what you offer and where your direction is and your niche and how you're focusing that down, bravo, because it's needed for sure. And there's gonna
yeah,
be people that hands down there already is people that are looking at this message, women that are looking at this message going, okay, I need what she's saying in my life. Like if she can
yeah,
do it, like, hey, wait, I'm a black sheep of a family. Wait, I could take the same steps. You're kidding me. There's a rule or there's a battle plan that she's laying out to help me navigate through this. Sign me the fuck up and let's get to work.
yeah, absolutely. I think it's important and to invest in a coach if you're ready to do that and mentally committed. I always when I ask, I'm like, how committed are you on a scale of 1 to 10? If they're anything less than like a 6 or 7, like probably can't help you. So, because it's like you have to be committed because at the end of the
Oh,
day, that's what it's going to take. It's
yeah,
going to take
absolutely.
commitment, discipline, relentless. What was my little thing yesterday? Maybe it was relentless commitment is what it
Yeah,
was to whatever your purpose is, your goal.
right.
And I think that's just so important. And if you haven't, like, again, I just keep saying this, but it's like that mental toughness. If you have not tasted what it feels like, and if you just don't care about living your life and you want to be ordinary and you're okay with it, I don't know how as humans we can be because there's so much stuff out there and so much potential and stuff to grab and there's a piece of pie for everyone. I just don't know how you can't, want to achieve more. But it is what it is. But I'm like destined to figure out how I can impact the most amount of people on my time here on Earth.
Yeah.
So so I'm here for that.
Hey, hell yeah. And I am here to watch you succeed. I'm here to see how this is going to be amazing at how many lives you touch, how many lives you've already touched, right? Looking at, your trajectory on LinkedIn and I mean, obviously you caught my eye and I applaud you for the mission. I applaud you for your own commitment and dedication, to your cause and things like that.
Appreciate it.
No problem. So, Alyssa, as we wind down, how can the audience get a hold of you? Like, what social media are they on? How can they follow you or reach out?
Yep. So my handle that I made for myself in 2020, it's Little Fit Patriot. That's what a lot of people know me as is the Little Fit Patriot. So that's how I'll be. I think it's real little, or no, it's Little Fit Patriot _ on TikTok, but Instagram, you'll see Little Fit Patriot. It's a newer page. I did have an older one with like 100K. Now it's a brand new page. Again, trying to get more women. That one was like just not good. Um, so website, www.littlefitpatriot.com. There you can find my coaching. I'm running a challenge that starts in about a week. So, I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
it's going to be beyond this, but yeah, it's for women again. So everything you can find me there, my email, social media is the best way. So you can either DM or send an email and I'll get it. But that's the major stuff. I'm on everything YouTube, but you'll usually, if you look up Little Fit Patriot, you'll find where I'm at. So
Okay. Perfect. Like perfect. Well, Alyssa, once again, like thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to meet with me and to share your story with the crew and with the audience. Very, very, very grateful for that.
well, I appreciate it, Trevor. It's my privilege to be here and speak to your audience.
Hey, no problem. Audience, once again, thank you for tuning in for another episode of Way of the Warrior. Please make sure you're clicking that subscribe button and make sure that you're connecting with Alyssa. Once again, everybody, thank you for joining us. Have a great day.